Welcome to the Magnetic Leadership Podcast by educator Dave Johnson.
Good morning, everyone, and so glad to be doing another call with you guys. I think just one of the things to kick this off, I'm just really excited to be working again with Jeffery. Jeffery and I met about 20 years ago and did some work with him and our group. And at that time, I'm just thinking, wow, it's so fun to just be in the process of accomplishment, doing great things. But also, it could be really frustrating later on if you kind of coast and you realize that you could do a lot better than what you're doing. And as that comes on with time, you get more and more frustrated. But I am so grateful, all of you, to be working with Avini. It's just a chance to recreate and to honestly tell you I'm the happiest I've ever been right now. I'm in my A game again. And it's just really important to be thinking, okay, I'm learning, doing, and making a difference in the world. And this is my day rather than say 20 years ago. So you're either growing or you're dying. You can't stay the same. And so I choose to grow, and you do too. And so a while back ago, I connected myself with Jeffery Combs. And okay, a little bit about Jeffery. If you haven't met him, I was first interested about him because I like to listen to things, and some of the finest audios that are available come from Jeffery. The Psychology of Prospecting is the example. I think that was the first one that I got from you, and we connected and started talking. A lot of people I really love. Jim Rohn, we all love him. If you don't know about him, look him up, get into that. Well, Jeffery has actually shared the stage with him. Some years ago, he founded a Golden Mastermind, all kinds of wonderful, wonderful things, just trained with thousands of people over many, many years. And I'm working with him. And Jeffery, so grateful for you to share your time with us. And so specifically, one of the things I'd like to talk about today, doing all of these thousands of keynote speakers, teaching people, I look at you as an expert in procrastination, but also just the psychology of how things work, letting go. You have that breathe, release, let go. You've gone through quite an ordeal yourself, but that's what makes us all good. And you're working with people with the same situation. But oh my goodness, there's so much you could teach us, but specifically, I'm just thinking, how can I get myself to do what I know I need to do? I'm going to turn it over to you, Jeffery, but thank you for coming on. I really appreciate this.
All right, Dave. Well, I've owned Golden Mastermind seminars for 26 years, and I've coached over 15,000 clients, 150,000 hours one-on-one. And so I specifically specialize in assisting people to understand cause and effect, why they do what they do. So you can have the greatest business, you can have some of the greatest products in the world. I've been a committed user of Cell Defender, Dave. Through your advice, you suggested I use that. And I know we can't do a medical claim. I've had prostate issues for 20 plus years, and I've had more relief from Cell Defender than any other product that I've taken holistically and homeopathically. So I'm a believer of your product, your system, but I'm also a believer of Dave Johnson. I was your coach in 2006 through 2008. I did 2 events for you in beautiful Coeur d'Alene back in the day. So I've followed your career also, Dave, for over 20 plus years. I mean, it was so awesome to reconnect with you last year, especially in the timing where you are in your life. So you're in Avini Health, which is absolutely a company in momentum, and I'm honored to be here today. So what I assist people to really understand is why they do what they do. If you continue to recreate the same situation and create the same outcome, that is called a payoff. It's a neurochemical craving to fulfill an emotional dysfunction that you continue to recreate, and that creates avoidance, and which leads to this procrastination. Procrastination is an overwhelmed state of brain fog that most of the planet lives in, and they recreate it, and then it continues to compound. So the older you get, the more your procrastination is going to be a challenge. And if you don't understand why you procrastinate, then I'm very skilled at assisting people to understand how a series of events that you have lived through and created and continue to perpetuate leads to your avoidance tendencies. So the byproduct of avoidance and procrastination is disappointment. A large percent of the population becomes unconsciously addicted to disappointment. And that emotion is driven by shame. So procrastination is a personal issue that as it's personalized, the emotions that it affects the most are shame and resentment. The ego, lower self, feels shame for waiting till the last minute and pulling it off. That's the cardio cocktail, while living in acute dysfunction in an overwhelmed state. That's the emotion, overwhelm. And so if you're a people pleaser, if you have codependent tendencies like I do, you will tend to over obligate yourself, enable, say yes to too many situations, take on too many businesses, too many projects, have too much going on, and then feel guilty for not letting go. Because if you have healthy boundaries in a non-attached state, then you won't be taking on all these obligations and duties. But if you don't have clear boundaries, you'll just continue to say yes, yes, yes to everything because it looks so good and the shiny objects are so good. And then I really want to help people. I'm Delta, Delta, Delta. I'm here to help you, help you, help you. Well, that model is not sustainable because you can't rescue, help, or save everyone. I mean, so there has to be a boundary you have. Now, you can be there for people and be inspired for people, but you're not responsible for other people's feelings. And so that's a key component in letting go of the tendencies to over obligate, enable, and then have so much going on that you can't get off the dime. And that's typically what you get paid for the state is a dime instead of the thousands that you could be picking up. You end up tripping over the dimes because of how overwhelmed you are. I believe there's a few questions in there, Dave, that you would ask me to cover, along with, and I'll cover procrastination throughout the call because it's such a wide topic and very few people write on this. So I wrote this book originally in 2010. It was called From Procrastination to Production. I then sold it through an agent to Career Press. Wiley & Sons and Simon & Schuster just didn't feel the book would sell. And it's not a big seller. It's interesting, though. I got my royalty payment today from Kindle. And so it's like pennies. It's interesting what you get for Kindle downloads. But the book sold in 4 different languages. It didn't sell millions of copies, but it's in every Barnes & Noble in America. And it's not a real feel-good topic. So it's not an inspiring topic to address your procrastination. But if your desk is a disaster, you can't get your car in your garage, you're behind on multiple payments, you have a lot of credit card debt, you don't have a savings plan, you're in your 50s, 60s, and 70s, and your credit score is low and you don't have any money, that's a byproduct of procrastination. And so this is when people really start to worry at the end of their life because they don't have enough. They don't have a retirement plan. They don't have enough money. Their credit score, their credit, a multitude of situations. And this is why you have a vehicle today called Avini. This is why you're on this Facebook Live, this is this Zoom. This is why you're here today. So you can receive the inspiration to let go of your anxiety about outcomes that haven't happened. If you're a procrastinator, it means you're an avoider. And it means you'll over obligate yourself and do more training than you will do production. You get paid for production. You do not get paid for knowledge. Knowledge is an asset, but only if it's applied.
Oh, this is really, really good stuff. And I think about just overall health too. And it was about 6 years ago that I had a health crisis. And I look at what you're talking about, anxiety, fear, doubt, all of these problems that we don't like to think about. I was there. And I think that was a big emotional component of my dis-ease. And that's a good thing to talk about because you're an expert in letting go of all of these things. And you've gone through a lot of challenges in your life. And how were you able to do that? And I guess because of that, you became an expert and you've helped a lot of other people letting go of all of this stuff and getting on with their life. And as you say, it's all about production and results. And if you're all cluttered with all of this sort of stuff, it interferes with everything. So
what I specialize in, Dave, is when I recently started my career, I started off teaching people how to sell, how to ask. And this is my signature product from back in the day. You had this back in the day, Dave. CD sales
classic.
Back in the day. Back when cars had keys and cars had CD players in it. Originally, cars had cassette players in it. I remember getting my first Alpine cassette with an graphic equalizer in it back in the day. And then I would listen to Jim Rohn and all the greats of the late 80s and 90s. I grew up in the Amway era of network marketing and direct sales. But what I really assist people to understand, it's how events shape your feelings. And so if you are committed to building a business, see, that's the key word, commit. But what most people are is interested. For you to cross the bridge from commitment, from anxiety, fear, and doubt to commitment, it's important that you let go of your anxiety, your fear, and specifically your doubt. Doubt is where you have your foot on the bridge and your foot on the boat. That's where most of the network marketing industry parks themselves. They're parked in a place called doubt. And they know it's a good product, they know it's a good business, but they have challenges lifting their foot off the dock, putting it in the boat, and sitting in the boat because it requires commitment conscious. Now, if you're commitment phobic, your ego, lower self will find ways to avoid succeeding because success would contradict your lifetime of struggle. If you're a noble struggler, just getting by, if you're a noble struggler, continuing to do the same thing over and over, you bounce from company to company and situation to situation, and you've never really realized your potential, well, today could be that day. Because I am very skilled at breaking it down for people, how a series of events shape the neurological network of neurons that wire and fire that form your feelings. So if you're in any level of anxiety, fear, and doubt, the emotions are anger, hate, resentment, guilt, shame. Guilt and shame rob people from being able to create money and free enterprise. And then the term selfish shows up. I don't want to be selfish. I'm too guilty to ask the questions in the sequence. I don't want to bother people. I don't want people to think. This is the story that the analytical egoic mind, which means left brain. If you're going to be successful in life, you require to incorporate both of your brains. Your left brain is your intelligent, analytical brain. Your right brain is your limbic brain, and your limbic brain is creative. It's intuitive. It creates repetition and experience. It experiences love, joy, bliss, harmony, and then it's ambassadorship, it's stewardship, it's God, it's deity, it's you're able to access source. But if you're in your anxiety, fear, and doubt, you've shut off what is called your pineal gland. Your pineal gland is the ocular gland that connects you with God or source, the quantum field. That's your creativity. God doesn't want you to struggle. You've accepted struggle, and it's not normal. It's a conditional behavior. You're not obligated to struggle. You can let go of struggle by letting go of control. Understanding you're in control of your struggle. This is very complex for people to understand, but I've spent the last 26 years assisting people to let go. Now, letting go is a specific skill. And if you're not skilled at letting go, you'll just recreate the same story over and over and continue to struggle. So struggle is not normal, struggle is conditional. To let go is to separate your feelings from the events that shape them. So you're not the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings. So this product assists people, especially me, Dave. So the prostate is inflammation. So if you grew up in an inflamed family environment, if you're an unwanted child like I was, if you have a narcissistic parent and a codependent parent like I had, or if you have an alcoholic father like I did, you're going to grow up in uncertainty. You're going to grow up in fight or flight. You're going to grow up not feeling good enough. You're going to start worrying about the outcome that hasn't happened. Then you start to develop what's called performance anxiety. And this is what happens to most people. They're so anxious about the outcome that hasn't happened that they do this. They procrastinate. This week alone, Dave, now you know this, Dave. I mean, and you hear this all because of the election, before the election, after the election. There's plenty of money for all of us. There's plenty, the law of plenty. It's out there for us. But if your lower self ego continues to make up stories that I'll get started after the election or after this, that's what people do. Once again, that is this. The election is just another reason for people to procrastinate and avoid. Prospect today. People require money. People require health. It's the most challenging times in world history right now. People are overwhelmed. Your products, services, benefits, and features and opportunity to create wealth through a leveraged business can actually give people relief and take them out of the anxiety, stress, and doubt that they're in. And your product, service, and benefits are outstanding. I'm a product of your product. So that's what I'm assisting people to understand, Dave, that letting go is a specific skill. I coach and teach it 7 days a week. So if you're seeking that insight, that's what I assist people to do.
Well, you mentioned pineal gland, hippocampus, things like that. It's fascinating that our mind and our brain, they're two different things, but they, your brain can affect your mind and vice versa. And I've read that this worry, fear, doubt, all of those sort of things actually make those parts of your brain that create that get bigger physically. And the other way around, if you change yourself and start thinking positive, those parts get bigger. So you get easier and better at the things that you do. And I love what our mentor said, Jim Rohn, for things to change, you got to change. For things to get better, you got to get better. For things to improve, you improve. And the best way to create the future is just, we create the future. We can predict and think, okay, what's the election, all this other stuff. But basically, we create our own world, and all of us working together, we can make such a big difference. But if you could talk a little bit more about that, just mindset. We all have some type of mindset, and this is all about that. And we're here because we want to change. We want to get better.
Well, it's important that you learn to let go of the story you hold on to and the worry you hold on to, and you focus on one key word: production. Because you don't get paid for thinking, you get paid for producing. You get paid for action. Action is paramount. And so the action that you create or the action you don't create, one rewards you and one disappoints you. So if you're not in action in a business, then you're going to be disappointed. And if you're in action in a business, it's also important that you let go of being attached to the outcome. So when you mentioned the brain, the hippocampus is long-term and short-term memory. It's the top back of your brain. And when you're in any level of brain fog, that hippocampus enlarges. The prefrontal cortex is in the front of your brain. When you're holding on to trauma from past events that are unresolved and you keep recreating the same situation, that enlarges. The amygdala is behind your left ear. That's the emotional engine. That's a pea-shaped sized gland. That's your attractor factors right there. So when that's shut down, when those three components of your brain are shut down, that inhibits your ability to produce and also inhibits your ability to attract people who are quality buyers, like-minded success seekers, because the energy that you're transmuting and emoting is you're not good enough. And you're sending a mixed signal that I'm in a great business, but I'm not sure if I can lead you. I'm in a great business, but I'm not sure if I can articulate the value of the product. So this becomes the story that so many people continue to perpetuate because they stay in this chronic state of procrastination. So people go, how do I get rid of? Well, you don't get rid of anything. You let go of one day at a time. Your objective is to be productive. So if you live in a state of chaos, you can't get your car in your garage, your desk is a wreck and a mess, there's all these other things going on in your life, well, you can't fix that in a day. That's a one day at a time process. You isolate isolated areas and you begin to create a system, a routine, an order, and you stop rebelling against your own success. The biggest deterrent your own success is you, because number one, you don't feel you're good enough, and then you rebel against a system, a routine, a method, a structure, and then you wing it. That's what most people do, unfortunately. And then they don't rank advance, they don't get the prize, they don't get the money. And this is a byproduct of this entire industry, because the industry is filled with people with good intentions and poor delivery. And then there's the people who break through. You can be part of that breakthrough factor. You do not require education. You do not require a PhD, a public high school diploma. You don't require any of that. What you require is inspiration. Inspiration is what creates perspiration. You don't have to work hard. That's not the issue. But your focus, you're either going to be focused or unfocused. And if you're overwhelmed, you'll be unfocused. You're focused on being able to qualify people for this, your product, your service, benefit, and feature. You can have the greatest product in the world, but not everyone sees the value. But it's important that you see the value. And the person you have to value is yourself. And you have to be able to take that, you raise your value at your value ladder by persuading yourself that you're good enough. Not convince. Convince is force. Persuasion is power. And you persuade yourself into believing that today is my day. Now is now. The most challenging time in world history. I have it right here in my hands. The mentorship, the leadership, the company, the designers, the owners of the company, everything is in alignment for you. The only thing is missing is you. It's important that you show up in this time in your life. And you stop this procrastination. You stop avoiding. This is an epidemic. This book breaks down 6 different procrastinator types. There's 6 different types that I have determined over my life. That book had me on multiple TV shows, multiple radio shows. I turned most of them down because it just took too much time and wasn't worth my time to promote the book the way it required, because I was building a 7-figure business for the last 26 years. And your daily discipline, Jim Rohn was famous for it. There's a black and white video of Jim Rohn that's about a minute where he breaks down what the word discipline actually means. Have you ever heard the term salt of the earth, Dave?
Mm-hmm.
Emmett Fox covers that in his book, Sermon on the Mount. I mean, the salt of the earth means that you are that person. You're that person of influence, affluence. You have that value. You have those values. You're able to be an inspiration. You're able to lead by example. You're the salt of the earth. That isn't possible when you do this, because you're in an overwhelmed state, disappointed in yourself, not feeling good enough. Today is the day. Now is now. For you to break through, you have to feel that. It doesn't come from your left brain. It comes from your heart. It comes from your gut. For you to be able to transcend where you are right now, procrastinating, getting ready to get ready, in liability debt, not feeling what you feel, not being where you should be in these stories, you have to be able to transmute a different level of inspiration called passion. And that passion not only is for people, but the passion has to be transmuted from yourself. That it's important that you're able to let people know that I'm here, I'm available. You don't have to be a superstar leader. You don't have to have created any money in your past. What's important is today you show up for yourself. And you have to show up for yourself first, then you can begin to show up for others. Most people have it backwards. They show up for other people first, put themselves last, and then don't attract the people they require to build the team, the organization, the culture, and they spend too much time with the wrong people. That's why it's important that you understand you are looking for qualified buyers. Not everyone is a qualified buyer. You're looking for a qualified teammate. Not everyone has the courage to break through. Everyone has the courage. Not everyone will exhibit it. That's your responsibility, your ability to respond. Now, responsibility is different. So if you're learning how to respond and letting go of reacting, this is a key component of breaking through, Dave. If you've lived in overwhelm and you've lived in chaos and procrastination, the neurological network of neurons that wire and fire between the brain and the gut are going to autonomically react and procrastinate. This is why so many people, when you ask them a question, the first sound out of their mouth is and they think rather than feel. And this is why so many people can't answer a question. This is why people have challenges selling, because you have to be able to react to the stimulus, you have to be able to respond to the stimulus, respondability rather than reacting. When you're reacting, the body is in fight or flight, releasing neurochemicals of adrenaline and cortisol, which is similar to a heroin. It's a heroin feeling. It's an and that's what people live in, is that fight or flight reaction to stimulus. I teach people how to respond to it. That's what letting go is. So if you coach with me, it's a methodical process of understanding the cause that creates the effect and learning the skill of letting go. It's the separation between the feelings and the events that shape them, so that you're not the mind-body connection to the inflamed family environment you grew up in. So you're not the mind-body connection to not being good enough. So you're not the mind-body connection to the dis-ease that your body recreates to fulfill the feelings.
Oh, this is fantastic. I know you've got about 5 minutes left, but one thing, first off, how can people connect with you? What's the easiest way? And I know you offer a free 20-minute session, but if you could just finish up by this idea that I love it to express this way, that good habits are hard to make, but they're easy to live with, and bad habits are easy to make, but they're hard to live with.
Well spoken, Dave. Very good.
And working with you, cluttered desk, cluttered mind. I've kept my desk real clean. I'm working on my drawers. Sent you a couple of pictures. So everybody needs a coach, and everybody should have a clean desk and have a clean mind. And I love what John Maxwell talks about. If I could follow you, pick the day. If I could walk through there, if I followed you in a day, I could tell you where your future is going and if you're going to be successful or unsuccessful. And so this idea of habits, skills, routines, things like that. Could you just end with that idea?
You bring up Maxwell. Yeah, I had the opportunity to share this. I mean, I've shared the stage with everybody in my 26-year career. So I shared the stage with Rohn 5 times, Hansen 15 times, Tom Hopkins 3 times, Bob Proctor 3 times. But I shared the stage with Maxwell once, and I told him that his book, so Maxwell's first book, you bring this up, Maxwell's first book, and this was a breakthrough for me because I was in Herbalife, barely making a living, $8,000 a month in Herbalife back in the day, which is a breakaway pay plan. And I mean, you know how that pay plan is, the difficulty of that pay plan. And I was struggling with that business, but in 1994, before Barnes and Noble, I went to a Walden bookstore, and this book jumped off the shelf at me, and it was called Developing the Leader Within You. And in that book, I realized I was spending too much time with the wrong people. And I was trying to develop the leaders around me, and I wasn't developing the leader within me. And I was expecting these other people to produce to a level they weren't able to. So Maxwell, his content back in the day was really empowering for me. So the first 2 books of his I read was Developing the Leader Within You and Developing the Leaders Around You. Then I ended up sharing the stage with him at the Cotton Bowl at a Celebrate Recovery event for about 350 people back in 2005 and 6, and then edified him for that book and how it allowed me to break through. And it's so important that you put energy into you without feeling guilty, without feeling selfish. And you put energy into you, into being your best self one day at a time. So if you're looking for a way to transcend or break through today, and you find yourself not being compensated what you know you're worth, or you find yourself procrastinating, avoiding getting ready to get ready, and you don't really understand why you do what you do, I offer free 20-minute coaching sessions for people who at least have some interest in coaching. So if you've considered coaching and would like to speak to me, you can go to my website, goldenmastermind.com. Right up on the top of it, it says request a 20-minute call. You can also go straight to Facebook, and you can send me a friend request, or you can just go straight to Messenger and message me with your phone number. I look today, I have 2 open hours today. So I can do 4 or 5 coaching calls today if you're serious about this quantum leap that you seek to make. Now, there's 90 days left at the end of this year. That's 1 whole quarter. It's over 100 days, actually. It's over 100 days left in the calendar year 2024, the year of our Lord. So if you want to create significant change for 2025, it starts right here today on September 21st, 2024. So if you'd like to speak to me, message me in Messenger, or go to my website, goldenmastermind.com, and fill out a survey. I'll get back to you today. So for the first 5 people, I will contact them today. The others, I'll get back to in the next couple of days.
Well, it's going to be my best quarter ever, and let's do this. Any final thought, Jeffrey? Any call to action? What do you think? The right place, right time?
Well, today is Saturday, and today is an ideal day to contact people. 7 days a week is an ideal day to contact people. Today is an action day. Today is a day of action, and action means that you speak to people and you qualify them for your time. You ask people if they're serious about improving the quality of their health. I mean, in today's world, in the streamlined world of network marketing, direct sales, it's not like the old days, Dave, where we'd spend hours on the phone with people. I mean, it's a fast world. You can present products, service, and benefits and features. You can qualify 10 people in a day easily and effortlessly if you let go of your anxiety about the outcome. I mean, it's the law of large numbers. It's important that you have enough people in your pipeline that a few people see the value proposition that you have, and then someone takes that value proposition to the next level and says, I can build a business. So it's that belief, which is certainty, and it requires you to be certain today that you have that ability within you to be your best self, so you can attract your reality, the quality, like-minded health and success seekers that you deserve to have in your team. See, the key word is deserve. It's not you don't need them, you deserve them, which is Latin for day of service, deservier.
Thank you. Everybody needs what we have, and pretty much nobody even knows about it. So we get paid for action, but we got an obligation. We need to change the world, and we can do that. So thank you. And everybody, let's go for it. Let's be people of action. Thank you, Jeffrey.
Bye, Dave.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for joining the Magnetic Leadership Podcast with Dave Johnson. Take charge of your health and detoxify today with Avini Premium products.